What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Welcome to the number one ranked show. Thank you for downloading it, watching it on YouTube. You can follow the social channels on Instagram at the number one show, on Twitter at number one show, and on Facebook at the number one show. We're also going to talk with Maryland head coach Mike Locksley here in just a minute, and your takes on my all-time Big 12 teams, like of all time, greatest of all time. I even got to correct some of y'all that don't know the difference between the SEC and the Big 12, and the fastest dudes in college football today and the fastest dudes in college football ever. I'm very excited about this with the Olympics coming up, and gives me an opportunity to really talk about, well, track and field, and there's a story there that we'll get to. But first, I want to talk about the Supreme Court putting his foot down with the NCAA and this educational benefits type stuff. So check this out. All right. The Supremes, that is the Supreme Court justice, the nine, the highest court in the land, are dancing on the NCAA's draconian rules, limiting compensation like they were founded as the primates. That is, the U.S. Supreme Court's nine justices out here acting like reasonable people has the NCAA shook. This is from a court case they decided on Monday. And the Supremes did this simply by running up a 9-0 ruling in Alston versus NCAA, like Alabama versus Directional State. This decision means that the NCAA can no longer put limits on educational related benefits that are accessible to regular college students, like paid internships, laptops, iPads, etc. You get an Alienware, and you get an Alienware, and you get an Alienware. The decision means the NCAA can't limit what schools can do to pad their educational related benefits to better recruit players. Like I said, gaming laptops, but their conferences still can if they choose. An example of what this might look like is the Big 12 severely curtailing the number of Prop 48 players a school could have among its student athlete population in 1996. You'll remember I talked about this in an earlier show as it relates to Nebraska. The decision devastated Nebraska football recruiting. And what the Alston versus NCAA decision does not mean, though, is that the schools have to pay salaries to their players. The case was brought by former West Virginia running back Sean Alston and former players. Their attorneys claim the NCAA's limit on educational related benefits is unfair. The NCAA's attorneys defended it by claiming the rules disallowing salaries and limiting educational benefits to the cost of attendance respective to the member schools facilitated amateurism. Amateurism is a sham. Amateurism is a lie. However, the NCAA is at work, along with more than a dozen state legislatures and U.S. Congress, to frame name, image, and likeness rules. You'll hear Locksley talk about this a little bit later on in his take. NIL is what most contemporary athletes stand to gain the most money from and where most of their focus will be, okay? However, Justice Brett Kavanaugh left open a door for a legal challenge at a later date that will likely overturn the NCAA's rules against schools paying players directly. In the court's 9-0 decision for the players in Alston versus the NCAA, Kavanaugh wrote, quote, "To be sure, the NCAA and its member colleges maintain important traditions that have become part of the fabric of America. Game days in Tuscaloosa and South Bend, the packed gyms in Storrs and Durham, the women's and men's lacrosse championships on Memorial Day weekend, track and field meets in Eugene, the spring softball and baseball World Series in Oklahoma City and Omaha. The list goes on. But those traditions alone cannot justify the NCAA's decision to build a massive money-raising enterprise on the backs of student athletes who are not fairly compensated. Nowhere else in America can businesses get away with agreeing not to pay their workers a fair market rate on the theory that their product is defined by not paying their workers a fair market rate. And under ordinary principles of antitrust law, it is not evident why college sports should be any different. The NCAA is not above the law, end quote, and nor should it be. If it feels like Brett Kavanaugh is saying what I have been telling you for 4 friggin' years, it's because he is. All right. Now let's talk to Maryland head coach Mike Locksley.
What's going on, RJ?
Chilling, coach. I'm excited to see what your team looks like in 2021 because I was doing some research for the show. And one of the things you said was usually takes about 3-4 years for your program to get where it is headed. You're going into year 3. How do you feel about the support around the program, not in the program, around the program over what they've seen since 2018 when you accepted the job?
Yeah, there's been so much support for the program. You know, obviously we're sitting in a new facility here that has been 6-7 years in the making. And to be able to move in about 2 weeks in now and just see the support that our administration, our fans, and our financial supporters have put into, you know, the Jones Hill House here has just been tremendous. But then even the local community, you know, I'm from here, I'm a native Washingtonian, and since I've been back, the love has been great. We've been able to reconnect with old friends, and the recruiting has been really going well here, especially locally, as we continue to, you know, try to develop these relationships and ties to, and this area is very fruitful for recruiting. And we're just trying to develop those relationships needed to land some of these top players from this area. So I can't complain about the support that we've gotten from outside.
Talking about the Jones Hill House, like $150 million project that y'all are very excited about. And you mentioned the local ties and being able to recruit locally. And I've always thought of the MDV as being sort of a sleeping giant, depending on how you want to categorize it. But what does this do in helping you go into those places? Not unlike DeMatha and Gonzaga, but others around the area to bring kids into the University of Maryland.
Yeah, as I've said, you know, especially in the DMV area, I think this building signifies a commitment that's been made, that you don't build a facility like Jones Hill House and not have a commitment to saying, hey, we want to play a major role in college football. I've been here for 14 seasons over three different appearances, meaning, you know, I've coached here. This is my 3rd time back. Mm-hmm. And so I've been able to see, as I like to say, the good, bad, and the ugly. I was here in 2001 when we won the ACC championship in Ralph Friedgen's first year, and saw the success we had for the first 3 years. We won 10 games and beat teams like Tennessee in the Peach Bowl, and played in the BCS game. I was here in the late 90s under Ron Vanderlinden, which kind of built the foundation that we had the success on under Coach Friedgen. And then, you know, to come back under Randy Edsel as an assistant, we kind of brought the program, you know, back up a little bit. We had back-to-back years of going to a bowl game, doing the Stephon Diggs era. And then now to be able to come back to what I call my dream job as the head coach and put my imprint on Maryland football. Can't be more excited about, you know, the opportunity. And, you know, having a facility like Jones Hill House now allows me to go out and not just sell a vision of what we want to be, but actually be able to show them the tangible side of having a facility that, in my opinion, having worked at places like Alabama and Florida and Illinois, which are all flagship universities, that this place is second to none of them. And so I'm excited to be able to lead the charge and show that, you know, Maryland is ready and serious about football now.
You mentioned Stephon Diggs, and we've seen the kind of success that he has had in the NFL. Another guy that I came up watching a lot of, Vernon Davis, Dominique Foxworth, a couple of dudes that you have already, though, on your team that I'm very excited about that I think can get to that place. Rakeem Jarrett, Dante Demas. I mean, what do those dudes do for you on the outside on the numbers?
Yeah, you know, the one good thing about the system that we run on offense, and it's the system that I implemented there at Alabama and was part of building. I brought it here, as I like to say. I stole the recipe. I just need the ingredients. And like you said, I feel like we've got some of those ingredients here. This is a player-centric offensive style. The receivers typically usually are a big part of it, from Aurelius Ben, DJ Moore, Stephon Diggs, and then, the quartet of receivers that I coached and was a part of developing there at Alabama, and Judy, Waddle, Devontae Smith, and Henry Ruggs. This system is receiver friendly. And when you talk about Rakim Jarrett, a guy that has a lot of natural talent, and we saw just glimpses of it last year in our shortened season, but he came in and had a big impact for us as a freshman. And then you talked about Dante Demas, a local product here that has been our most consistent threat during the time I've been here. And you add in guys like Jay-Sean Jones and Darryl Jones, that room is one of the pleasant surprises for me coming in, and I think has a chance to be one of the better receiver rooms in the country.
I mean, I want to stick with Jerry here for just a second, because as an avid watcher of recruiting, he shocked the hell out of me in not picking an SEC school and picking Maryland. And that was Coach Locksley up there. What is it that you were telling the kids? How are you convincing them? We see the dividends now, but he didn't see this. He's a part of this. What are you telling them?
Well, it shocked a lot of people, but it didn't shock me, because if you know Rakim Jarrett, his DNA is a little different. He's one of those guys that has a lot of confidence in himself. And I've kind of put together kind of what I'd like in a player. And not every player has enough intestinal fortitude to make a decision like coming to a place like Maryland instead of going to a perennial playoff program. It takes a special kind of guy. And I saw guys like Stephon Diggs make this decision, and look at what he's been able to do. I saw Vernon Davis. I recruited Vernon to Maryland. I recruited Sean Merriman to Maryland. And these guys were as heavily recruited as Rakim. And so, as I like to tell people, this isn't my first rodeo with this. And I think it's just a matter of being able to show that others have done this and made this tough decision. But like a lot of things in life, man, making the easy decision isn't always the right decision. Sometimes you got to make a tough decision, and that's where you really, really get paid big off the dividends of buying low and selling high.
Another dude you have over there that occupies a large amount of importance because the game is quarterbacks today is Taulia Tagovailoa. And going into this year, it feels like it's his. I understand you brought in another quarterback in Reese Udinsky, but what is it about him that you were expecting to see in 2021?
I think like with any part of our program, including me as a head coach, just improvement from year to year. We talk about getting 1% better each day. And so, again, we've had time now to look at what he was able to accomplish last year in a shortened season. And I know a lot of people have said he kind of was hot and cold because he had a few games where he threw some interceptions, and then he had a bunch of games or a few games where he did some really good things. And so I think consistency typically is the last thing to come when you have a young player. And people have to understand last year, those were the first 5 starts of his career as a Division I player. And I like to, say, and I've said this before, if you look at the Indiana game, that's all on me as a head coach and us as coaches. I didn't feel like we gave him a chance to have success in that game. So the one game that I think we can say, hey, you can play better was the Northwestern game. And I saw him take the necessary steps. After that game, we got back at 3 a.m. He was here in the office. I think he just slept in the locker room, came upstairs after that shellacking, and immediately went to work on, I know what I need to do now. I know I got to put the time in. I want to meet with you. I want to meet with Coach Montgomery. I want to spend as much time as I can so that I can go into these games as prepared as I need to be. And you saw the fruits of the labor of that in the Minnesota game, which I think was a signature game for Leah to show, hey, this is what I'm capable of doing. And so now the necessary thing we got to do is get him to play like he did in that game, each and every game.
Well, you mentioned a number of games in there, but the one that got my attention is the 35-19 win against Penn State, especially following the 2019 performance. Did that ring out for you?
It was great to see him make the plays, but Rakim Jarrett had a big game, 2 big explosive catches. Demas had a big game. Jake Funk, who got drafted by the Rams, had a big game, I thought. And then on the defensive side of the ball, we were starting to we had just made the change from playing a lot of zone coverage to playing man coverage. And really, our defense did a great job of executing man coverage schemes and staying with their receivers. And I think it was an overall team effort that helped us in that win. And, for us, it was a good win because it's against an opponent that has had their way with us a lot of years. And again, that's, it was good for us to be able to have the success against a great program like Penn State.
Well, let's talk about the defense side of the ball then, because I'm looking at who you guys return, and you got some hitters on this defensive line, in particular, Okuwano and Mo Nasi-Lakita. Now, I practice. Did I say it right?
Yeah, so it's Mosiah Kite. Kite.
Thank you.
Right.
I appreciate you.
That's all right. And I only know because I have to practice those. And Sam O is Sam O. He prefers Sam O.
Okay, we'll go with Sam O. And Mo. What do those dudes provide you on the defensive line, Coach?
Yeah, 2 big bodies. Mo was a junior college prospect that was a byproduct of, he started at the University of Washington and then went JUCO and then came to us and really, really added some size and athleticism in the interior for us. One of those big body guys that's really twitchy. And, Sam O, again, a guy that continues. He's one of those late football guys. He didn't play a lot of football in high school, went to junior college ranks, and you're just starting to see him scratch the surface, which, we're bringing him back for one of those we call super senior years. The COVID year allowed him to add another year to his clock. And so he's one of those guys that I think will greatly benefit from it. Both those guys provided a lot of leadership and made a lot of plays for us during the shortened season. And I'm really excited to see what those guys look like, especially, Mo Kite after, coming to the JUCO ranks, getting here in the summer. This is really his first full year of being in our weight program and spinning spring ball and doing all the things that you need to do to improve as a player. So excited to see both those guys this season.
Those dudes seem to benefit from the maturation process as much as anybody else. But a dude that I wonder, is he going to be able to help you this year, is Terrence Lewis. I mean, that was a big get for you in this class. And I wonder just how does he figure for you?
Yeah, I mean, T2, as we affectionately call him, is one of those guys that, has a lot of talent. Obviously, he came in injured, but, we wound up having to have surgery with him within the first couple of weeks of him being here, which is, again, a byproduct of COVID. We didn't get to go out and see these guys. They didn't get to take visits. And, he showed up here after playing a full high school season and has a torn ACL, and he played as pretty much all year, I think, with it, because he said it was bothering him. And so we checked it out, and he had a torn ACL. So we're glad that we were able to get the surgery done. We're hopeful we'll be able to get him back in time, somewhere in the middle of the season, if he's able to. But to get a guy of his ability out of Miami, could have went anywhere in the country. Again, he kind of fits that criteria I told you that I'm looking for. There's only a certain kind of kid that can make the decision to turn down Florida, Georgia, Alabama, those types of programs to come to Maryland before Maryland has made a mark in college football. But they have to be made up of the right stuff. They've got to be really confident players. They got to be guys that are self-starters that feel like, hey, I have enough confidence in my ability that I can go have an impact on the program and not just be another guy that came through a great program. And so, as I say all the time, not a lot of guys are built for those type of decisions. And when we find guys that are, we're all over them. And, Brian Williams and our defensive staff did a great job of setting the table for us to get them.
Now, Coach, I want to talk about your backfield because you mentioned Jake Funk got drafted by the Rams. I think he averaged something like 8.6 yards per carry, over 500 yards. but it ain't like you don't have dudes back there. And in particular, one that I know of and very familiar with, and Isaiah Jacobs. And I want to ask, how do you figure for you? But I also want to touch on Josh Jacobs as well. A couple dudes from my backyard, a couple dudes from Tulsa. What is it about those two players in particular that you liked?
Anybody that knows that family knows their story and the perseverance that they both have. I mean, the story has been well told of spending nights sleeping in the car, living with their dad, from homeless shelter to homeless shelter, and just to meet these boys and see just how great of people they are, man. And my hat goes off to Dad, man. He did a great job with these boys with, the little he had. And, they both have that chip on their shoulder. If you ever meet them and if you know them, they're very private people that they don't have big circles. They don't talk a lot, but they are tough. They are reliable. They play hard. They're physical. And as I like to say, they both kind of run angry, like they're mad. And they probably are a little bit mad. Some of the things they had to go through growing up there in Tulsa.
Well, hey, look, I see Marty every now and again when I go get my lineup, and he mentioned that I was going to talk to you. He said, "Hey, you be nice to Mike. We like Mike." And I'm like, "Hey, look, I didn't even say nothing." So you made an imprint for them, and I appreciate that because, as I said, they're close to me, close to my heart, coming out of this place, and I wish them well. Coach, I want to take it to a bigger picture here because one of the things I look at all the time is these divisions, and we can talk about how they stack up or how they don't stack up. But it occurs to me that you play in one of the deepest divisions in all of college football, and you talk about getting 1% better. You ain't got no choice is how I feel about it when you look at how guys have been recruiting around you and how those teams have been building toward playing really competitive football themselves. Do you think that this is the deepest division in college football?
Having spent time in the ACC, spent time obviously in the SEC West at Alabama. I was in the SEC East at Florida. It's a tough division. There's no doubt about it. And, I'm going to get on my soapbox for a minute because with this playoff expansion talk, to me, the Big Ten can position ourselves because I feel like we are the strongest conference from top to bottom to maybe have to shake this thing up a little bit to, maybe rethink how we're split and aligned to where we, move some pieces around to put us in the best possible position as a conference to get multiple teams in this playoffs. As we all know, that's the way you get the payday for the league is multiple teams in the playoffs. And if we're going to go to 12, to have 3 teams like Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State all in one division where they typically knock each other off, I just think, it's something that as we look to improve and get 1% better as a football program here, maybe it's time for us as a conference to look at those things and say, hey, is this the best situation to put us in the best light to be a part of the playoff picture with multiple teams the way we're aligned. So I would say that there's no doubt the Big Ten East is a very, very tough division, as is the West. Again, I'm not saying that the West side doesn't have the talent because I do believe top to bottom this league is as good as any league in the country. But as you look to see the college playoff expansion, the first thing that comes to my mind is what gives us the best chance and to position ourselves as a league to get the multiple teams in there, because that's what creates the conference notoriety. That's how you build your brand.
In relation to the college football playoff and what we think of is inevitable expansion, I'm for 16 teams. We'll start with 12, and I'm okay with that. But to that and I ask you, do you agree that the playoff should expand? Do you like the current system? Do you want it to revert? How do you feel about it?
Well, I think it's time to expand, and obviously 16 would be more ideal, but I do understand that you have to, maybe work up to that point. I think 12, again, offers the opportunities to allow our, the non-Power 5 schools opportunities in that they haven't necessarily always gotten. But then, and I think it also allows the flexibility and the having different teams. I mean, if you look at the research that they showed, 4 teams have been in this playoffs, 60, 70% of the playoffs. So I do think it affords a little more excitement about the playoffs, because as you know, in the playoffs, it's one game and you got to play your best, and anything can happen, as we see in basketball, that it could be that one game. So I'm for the expansion, whether it's 12 or 16, preferably 16, but 12 is a good starting point.
Hey man, they got 16 in the NBA, they got 14 in the NFL, they got 16 next year in the NHL. 16 is a good number. I think it's the right number. But more to that, like, I want to see the kids decide who wins a national championship, not a bunch of people in a boardroom telling me what they think, because I don't trust human beings to pick the best teams. But on to the other big issue, I think, in college football right now, which is the advent of name, image, and likeness. And in one shape or another, I've given this question to all the coaches who are gracious enough to join us here, and I'm giving it to you. How do you feel about name, image, and likeness? Does it make you at all anxious? Are you all full speed ahead? How do you feel about it?
I'm full speed ahead. I'm both feet in. I think it's long overdue. Having been a witness of, growing up here in the DMV, as we call it, and an avid, Georgetown Hoya fan growing up, even though I did love my Terps too. I saw Patrick Ewing take Georgetown from McDonough Arena, which I think at best holds 3,500, and that's at best, to selling out what was then known as the Capitol Center, where they had 18,000 fans to see Georgetown, and a lot of it was because they wanted to see Patrick Ewing. And so to me, it's long overdue. I am anxious because, it's just so gray and murky right now, and there's not been a lot of direction given from the powers that be that are handling it. And I think if you leave it up to the states to manage, each state is going to have their own kind of idea of what it should look like, and that in turn creates competitive advantages or disadvantages for others that I don't think makes it fair. So I'm all for it, but I want it to be looked at and put into a position to where it's fair, and it doesn't create competitive advantages for anyone but the players. And the players deserve to be able to make money off of their name, image, and likeness. I'm all for it, a proponent of it, but we do need to find a way to shape it so that it doesn't create the wild, wild west in recruiting, but also kind of have boundaries to it that allows us to understand what we're allowed to do and not to do.
You mentioned Georgetown, and one of the things that I always tell people about Georgetown is I'm born in 1987, right? So I'm a puppy. I turned 34 next month. But the reason I put it that way is because I thought Georgetown was an HBCU. Okay? Like, when I saw Coach Thompson over there with the towel and Patrick Ewing doing what he was doing on tape, but then Allen Iverson is my age, right? Like, that's he coming through when I'm watching the sport. I'm going, what do you mean Georgetown ain't no HBCU? And then, to look at what you are doing at Maryland, and you have Howard on the schedule, I'm looking at your non-conference that, again, I would want to hear what you think about playing at school like Howard, but also that West Virginia game feels like a really good test for you all, and a really good place for you to say, hey, look, we're going to challenge somebody for a title this year.
Yeah, to start off with a game like West Virginia is a great test for us, because, again, last year with playing 5 games, we never really got a feel for necessarily who we were. I felt like we were a team that improved, but we just didn't have enough body of work to say, yeah, we did, or yeah, no, we didn't. I felt as though we did. Playing West Virginia in the opener, to me, right from the bat, right from the get-go, we find out kind of where we are, because that's a good opponent. It's a regional rivalry for us. I've been here over the years with that game, and they usually have been really good battles. So I'm excited for our team to have an opportunity to test ourselves and see exactly how far our program has come against a formidable regional rival like West Virginia. And then playing Howard, Larry Scott's one of my great friends in the business. I personally hate playing because I don't like playing my friends, but I do think, giving them an opportunity to come over, short drive, play us here. And it's the game is on 9/11. So the anniversary of 9/11 in this area was affected by 9/11 with the, attack on the Pentagon there. It'd be a great opportunity, just to, it'll be almost like the world's largest go-go. That's the music that's in this area.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
You got the outdoor cocktail party, which I know they don't like calling it that between Florida and Georgia. But maybe we'll call the Howard Maryland game the world's largest go-go and get some of our native go-go bands to come play and just have a great time and go out and compete.
See, now you're trying to get me to come out to the game, because if you tell me you got Maryland Howard playing a football game and then I get to see all of DC come out, I'm going to be there. Then you're going to put go-go music in front of me? Yeah, all right. Yeah, I'm going to be through there. One of the last things I wanted to ask you about, coaches, and we touched on it throughout this interview, is the emphasis that you have put on recruiting and how successful you have been with it in a very short amount of time. But that is also just part of your persona as a coach. Everywhere you have been a capable recruiter. And I understand you got your criteria, and I understand there are kids that have to meet that criteria. But what is it about you that makes you want to do that kind of work? Because it's not easy to do.
No, it's not, but it's the lifeline of any program. They say recruiting is like shaving. If you don't do it every day, you look like a bum. And so, I recruit because as great a coach as I am, I was a much better coach with Devontae Smith and Henry Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy and Calvin Ridley and Jalen Waddle on the field for me. And I've also been a terrible coach when I didn't have those type of players and didn't win a lot of games. So it's the lifeline of what we do. I'm a big believer that if people like you, they're going to buy from you. And I hope I come across as over the years as being honest, transparent. Obviously, I have a lot of validation. I call it third-party validation from great players to say, when I played for Locks, he did these things. He did the things he said he would do. I earned degrees. I had opportunity to be developed to go to the next level. And now it's just time to have success on the field as a head coach and hopefully allow others like myself to get that chance to be head coaches.
No, Coach, I'm here for it. You have my whole heart, and I wish you great success going into this 2021 season. I'm going to be watching as much as I possibly can, especially in this conference. You know what it is. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Number One Ranked Show, Coach. We hope to have you back during the season.
Appreciate you, RJ.
My thanks to Coach Locksley for taking the time to sit and talk with us. The more coaches that do that, the more coaches I become fans of, because I understand the summer, especially in June, is chock full of stuff that they have to be doing. So for him to give me 20, 30 minutes of his time is ridiculously awesome. And I love that he was willing to talk with me about name, image, and likeness, and is all speed ahead, just wants to know how it's going to work. And I think that that's completely valid. All right, now I want to talk about the fastest dudes in college football, both today, presently in 2021, and then, yes, of all time, because we love the all times here. But I need to tell you, I had this idea over the weekend as I'm watching the Olympic track and field trials, because I am a track and field head. As a matter of fact, yours truly learned from the TU Alumni Association not 2 weeks ago. I'm getting a letter jacket for running track. I didn't know that I lettered in track. I ran it. I ran well, but I didn't know that I ran enough meets for it to matter. So expect me to wear my letter jacket most days of the week come this fall. I'm excited about that. Nothing like being like college letter winner to make you feel good about yourself, walk around, chest all out front. You dropping on just the Wakanda with the number 10 on it. You feeling some kind of way, because I got to believe that that's how Justin Gatlin was feeling over the weekend too. Justin Gatlin is 39 years old. He got gray in his head. And that man went out there and dropped 993 in the 100-meter dash, right? Now, shout out Tennessee fans, because that's y'all do. But I remember Justin Gatlin running when I was a child. Like, he ran 992 in 2004 at Tennessee and dropped 993 in 2021. You must be out your mind. But to the folks that out there talking about PEDs, test him. Look, man, take all the PEDs you want. Take all the HGH you want. Take all the steroids you want. You still throwing up your back from a heavy sneeze. Give that man his respect. Just like I want you to give these men their respect. These are the fastest, top 10 fastest players in college football today. Shout out to Mark Bronstad at Tracking Football, who was able to give me this list. As at Tracking Football, they collect all the track and field data from across the country and they enter it, and they came up with these names for me. So number 1 is cornerback Kalen Barnes at Baylor. He's ran a legal 10.22 100-meter dash, but he had a win aided 10.04 in high school. Win aided or not, that's flying. Number 2, wide receiver Keyshawn Carter at Texas Tech, transferred to Houston. He ran a legal 10.22. Number 3 on this list, Texas stand-up. I've been telling y'all Tyler Owens is a dog, and that when Tyler Owens gets the opportunity to go out there and show you what to do, it's going to be something lethal and mean. And now he's in Pete Kwiatkowski's scheme. My goodness. That dude ran 10.29 win legal in high school. Okay. Number 4 on the list is cornerback Marquez Benson out of Illinois. He ran 10.30 win legal. My goodness, man. And then number 4 on the list, tie here, wide receiver Arian Smith at Georgia ran 10.30. All I'm saying is that Scott Cochran, as a strength coach, ought to have just a tremendous amount of love in his heart for Arian Smith, because not only is he a strength coach, he's a special teams coordinator. Put that man at punt return, put that man at kick return, and let him go score you some touchdowns, okay? He got 10.3 legal back there, baby. Let that man run around and outrun these people, all right? Then another tie at number 4, running back Keenan Kristen at USC. Shout out to Cheshire, who is directing the show. He ran 10.3 win legal and a 10.26 win aided in high school. So he out there flying. Again, get that man the ball on the punt return, kick return, especially the kick return, and let him do what it do. Throw him the ball and watch what he do with it, okay? Number 7 on the list, wide receiver kick returner Marcellus Moore at Purdue ran 10.31. That probably is the fastest dude to come out of there. I mean, Rondell Moore ran in the 4.2s, but he never ran a 100-meter dash. That's why that dude was, not on the list. I'm taking dudes that ran track because I believe in track. But also, Raheem Mostert went out there and won a Big Ten championship, okay? And was like, I'm a football player who ran track, not a track runner that, plays football. And you saw that with the Niners. Okay, number 8, running back Jordan Byrd at San Diego State ran a 10.32 win legal. And number 9, running back Sean Shivers out of Auburn ran 10.33 win legal and a 10.29 when aided in high school. Man is absolutely out there flying. And then when you take into account that he's got Tank Bigsby in the backfield with him, yeah, Brian Harsin ought to just tell Bo Nix or whomever wins the job. I think Demetrius Davis might have something to say with this. Hand those dudes the ball and get out the way. They ought to be a running football team this year. And then number 10 on the list, TCU cornerback Noah Daniels, who ran a 10.34 win legal in the 100-meter dash. Gary Patterson has a knack for finding big, fast, strong dudes, all right? This is the dude on the other side of Hodges Tomlinson, because everybody playing defense, Texas Christian probably end up playing in the NFL. We don't talk about it enough, but that's usually what happens. Okay. Also, among the FBS top 21, the 2021 signees, not the top 21. The top 6 are in this order. Number 1, wide receiver Theodore Knox. He's at Mississippi State. He ran 10.4. Number 2, wide receiver, Monterey Baldwin at Baylor. He ran 10.41. Number 3, cornerback, running back, Martavius Davis. He's at Utah State. Blake Anderson, have fun with this man. He ran 10.47. Wide receiver Drew Donnelly, is at Cincinnati. He ran 10.49 and 10.31 when aided in the state meet. Number 4 on the list. Number 5 on the list, a name many of you will know, wide receiver Christian Leary at Alabama. He ran 10.5. Leary was a commit to Oklahoma, flipped his commit to Alabama. When he was asked why, they said, I'm going to play the capstone position. For those of y'all that don't know, that's the Jalen Waddle position. That's the John Mechie position. That's the Henry Ruggs position. Okay? And this 10.5 second 100-meter speed will let you know why. And number 6, cornerback Tevin Williams, also at Baylor. You see how Baylor got all the fast dudes over there? Ran 10.51, 10.20, when aided. You understand what I'm saying? Like Baylor be paying attention to the track and football data, it seems, because they got a bunch of dudes out there that can fly. And then collegiately, Arian Smith ran 10.10 at Georgia. Marcellus Moore ran 10.12. My goodness, dudes is flying. But all of this needs context, right? Because one thing for me to tell you dudes is fast. It's one thing for me to tell you that Justin Gatlin ran 9.93 at 39. But how do these dudes stack up among college football players all time, right? The greatest, fastest men to play the game. So I went and looked this up, right? Now, a lot of these dudes won the Heisman Trophy, but we can forgive that. We can let that go. Let me just go ahead and throw that out there. We won't hold that against you. Okay. Army tailback, and again, Heisman winner, we won't hold it against you. Glenn Davis, Mr. Outside, ran 9.6 in the 100-yard dash. And for you to understand how flying that is, in 1947, he clocked a 6.1 second 60-yard dash at a meet at Madison Square Garden. At the same meet, he outran Barney Ewell. Barney Ewell won the silver medal the next year in the 100-meter dash in London. That's how fast Glenn Davis was, okay? He held the school record for the 220 at 20.9 seconds. White boy out there moving, okay? Like just out there flying. Another dude absolutely out there flying. At LSU, Heisman winner. Won't hold it against him. Billy Cannon ran 9.4 seconds in the 100-yard dash, and he was strong. He was country strong. He was benching 435 before people knew how to count that high, okay? That was Billy Cannon at LSU. And then one of my favorite stories, not necessarily favorite people. We'll get to this in a second. But you know the stories are real, and you know the stories are true. O.J. Simpson, ran the third leg of USC's world record-setting 440-yard relay, right? In the 440, he ran leg number 3, which is also the flying really, really fast leg. I know some people talk about anchor, but you take that baton in the third leg, and you got that. Anyway, the man also ran 9.53 in the 100-yard dash and 10.3 seconds in the 100-meter dash, all at SC. He is the first of 3 Heisman winners, see if you can name all 3 at the end of this, who earned All-American honors in football and track. OJ, the juice was loose. And see, I did not make a joke. In 1982, Herschel Walker dropped a 10.23 second 100-meter dash and a win-aided 10.10, 10-10. He finished 7th in the NCAA Outdoor Championships that year. And you know who won it? Carl friggin' Lewis. Herschel was too big to be running this fast, man. But he ain't the last dude to be too big running this fast. Friggin' Bo Jackson, all 6'1", 227 pounds of him, dropped a 6.18 second 60-yard dash. It is still the school record at Auburn. In 1983, he was that dude. But in high school, this man ran a 12.9 second 110 hurdles. Bo Jackson running over hurdles. My God. High jump 6'9", triple jump 48.8, and threw the discus 150 feet and the shot 50 feet. Yo, man, like, I hear y'all when y'all like, yo, Bo Jackson RJ. I'm like, yes, I understand, but you got to take that third year. He got hurt. He only played like 5 games. But I get you. Because when we talk about athletes, it's Bo Jackson, Kyler Murray. I'll take Kyler Murray. You can keep Bo Jackson. We both going to be winning. All right. My favorite of this list, though, but not the fastest dude on this list, is RG3, who, when he is not tweeting like Jameis Winston throws passes, is able to clock out some ridiculously fast times in the toughest race in all of track and field. RG3 won the Big 12 championship as a true friggin' freshman. He graduated early in 2007, joined the track team in the spring in 2008, and in the 400-meter hurdles, dropped a 49.22. Again, that is the toughest race in the world. That is 400 meters over hurdles. Nah, man. All right. Then the man got invited to the 2008 Olympic trials. He finished 11th, but you get invited to the 2008 Olympic trials, and then you win the Heisman Trophy, which, again, we will not hold against you, but you see what I'm saying? Did all that at Baylor. And then in high school, that man ran the 400-meter hurdles in 49.36. That is the second fastest high school time ever at the time. Like, RG3 should have been running hurdles, not playing quarterback. But then, man ends up getting drafted and whatnot. But again, when the man ain't tweeting, he should be out there running. And then my favorite and the most fast, not my favorite, but one of the favorites that everybody here I know is listening to and the old heads want to come at me with is Bob Hayes. Bob Hayes might be the fastest man ever to play college football. He is also the first man to run sub 9.2, ran 9.1 in the 100-yard dash. He won 2 Olympic gold medals, 3 national AAU titles, an NCAA title, and posted the world's fastest 100-meter times for 3 straight years. From 1962 to 1964, Bob Hayes won 49 straight races in the 100-yard or 100-meter distances. If you're talking about running fast and playing football, you're talking about Bullet Bob Hayes. All right. Now, I want to go into your takes on my take, and we're going to see how right or wrong you are. But, I ain't met too many of y'all that's been right. And now to what I know is your favorite segment, and quite honestly, one of my favorite segments, perhaps my favorite segment, I'll never let you know, is We Out Ya, where you give me your takes on perhaps something I said or something we asked you. And this week, we asked for your takes on my all-time, all Big 12 offense and defense, and y'all were loud and out here. So to see how loud and out here y'all were, welcome in SEC Catherine, producer Cat. How you doing, producer Cat? Tell me, what are the people upset with me about today?
They're upset about a lot of things, but specifically at Froze Up says Crabtree should easily be on this list over Lamb. Crabtree did more in 2 years than Lamb did in 3.
I like where these coming from because this is taking in an entire body of work. And I also enjoy that Michael Crabtree, like Justin Blackman, who's on the team, won the Biletnikoff Award twice. Mike Crabtree also played in an offense that is literally called the air raid and was the only dude catching passes from Graham Harrell. He also made one play you remember. One. And that's because a Texas football player didn't have the good sense to push him out of bounds. Mike Crabtree is tiptoeing down the sideline when all you got to do is knock him over with a feather, and you never, ever hear Michael Crabtree's name again. Then I cannot let this Michael Crabtree take slide without mentioning something that happened in the NFL that kind of colors my perception. Because normally, I'm not the dude to tell y'all we're going to talk about the NFL on the college football show. I am the dude that is going to tell y'all you can't let Aqib Talib snatch your chain in front of people and not expect me to hold that against you. Like, you didn't fight back. You didn't scoop slam him. You didn't find him. Like, last year, we saw Courtney Gardner Johnson wait 11 whole minutes before he went out there trying to throw some hands. But Mike Crabtree let Aqib Talib, who went to Kansas, snatch him for his chain? No. More than that, CeeDee Lamb also had a memorable play. He had several, in fact. He had the up high jump man catch against UCLA. He turned Alabama into his son, even though they lost that game. And against Texas, that man was tackled. There is a great steal shot of Jalen Hurts throwing the flea flicker to fly to CeeDee Lamb, where CeeDee Lamb catches it, and there are 5 men standing around him wearing orange. None of those men could tackle him. They all play defense. Their job description is tackle CeeDee Lamb. And none of them were able to do that. And then you take into account CeeDee Lamb returned punts. Yeah, it's easy for me to put him on this list. It's also easy for me because, again, NFL, but we'll talk about it. Man's drafted in the first round by the Dallas Cowboys, and he breaks a 46-year-old record that was once held by, Bob Hayes for most receptions in a season by a rookie. Like, all right, let me get back off the NFL tip and just stick with this. He also got these mean locks, like my locks, and he wear a helmet when he do it. And you can talk about recency bias. You can talk about Oklahoma, and I wouldn't necessarily say that you're wrong. I will say, if you come to me with Michael Crabtree, come to me with more than a Biletnikoff Award and more than one play against Texas, okay? Also, it's okay for you to make a list, dog. It's cool. I mean, I won't read it, but you can make it. You can send it to the show. Maybe it's good. Maybe JV ought to read it, and I'll hear about it. But it's my list, right? And that's really what it comes down to. I like CeeDee Lamb more than I like a dude that got snatched for his chain, and I can't let that go. I am a bold man, okay? I'm short, okay? Which means that tall people think they want it, but they turn out they don't want it. And Mike Crabtree did not want it with Aqib Talib. I ain't never seen CD not want it. That's the whole point of the Texas part. Your job description is to tackle him. That's all you got to do. Matter of fact, one of the best tweets I did see there as a reply to all of this is, make those Texas defensive backs an honorable mention on your all-time Big 12 list of wide receivers. Yo, I love y'all, though. I love y'all. It's an interesting point, but I'm going to stick with CD. Producer Cat, what we got next?
Next one is from @Bo_knows11. Ricky Williams rushed for more yards and more tutties on 100 less carries than Cedric Benson. Plus, Ricky snagged a Heisman and the all-time rushing record for a year. Give me some context on your choice, RJ.
All right, so first here, the reason I did this, quite honestly, on a football basis, is Cedric Benson rushed for more than 1,000 yards in all 4 years of his time at Texas. Ricky Williams fell 10 yards shy of that as a true freshman in the Southwestern Conference. It's flimsy, so I understand if you don't like that. I also like that Cedric Benson played on the same team as Vince Young when Vince Young is the starting quarterback. So there was no way for Cedric Benson to be the offense in the way that Ricky Williams had to be the offense. Okay? Like when you talk about Ricky Williams, you talk about Mac Brown now looking to give horse in the mouth and saying, I guess we ain't got but one dude on this team I can trust. So I'm going to hand him the rock 300 times a year. Cedric Benson is on a team with Vince Young. I can stop there. I can name other dudes, but I'm going to stop there. He's on a team with one of the greatest players of all time. And yet and still, he goes for 1,053, 1,293, 1,360, and 1,834 as a senior. But the other reason is, man, Cedric dead. I wanted to give Cedric some flowers. Like, I want to let people know that, I remember that dude. I remember he was cold. Ricky Williams, I think he's cool. I would love for him to be on the show, but that's kind of the thing. He can be on the show. Cedric can't. Ricky also out here, having a good time, living his best life. I'm not mad at that, but I wanted to talk about Cedric Benson and how great Cedric Benson was. So I decided to put him on the list. And here you come with a Heisman trophy. Like, this is the reason why I keep trying to tell y'all, don't come to me with the Heisman trophy. Just don't do it. I did that take. Go listen to it. It's reasoned. It makes sense. But it is your only data point in these arguments. Stop treating this like your daddy's Facebook page. Build an argument. And if you can, leave out the Heisman friggin' trophy. Because if you come to a point to where all you got is the Heisman friggin' trophy, that's probably not a good pick for whatever all-time great conversation you want to have. It's kind of like asking who won MVP in the NBA or even in the NFL. Russ Wilson ain't got nan one MVP. You know doggone well Russ Wilson, one of the great players in the NFL today, okay? Bring it back to college. I went on about Trevor Lawrence never winning the Heisman Trophy. You can't look people in the eye and say he's not one of the great college football players of all time. It's not possible, right? So think about it. Think, does my argument hold up if I take the Heisman out of it? If it does, that's great. So you don't need to say nothing about the Heisman. If it doesn't, keep that to yourself. You ain't got to tweet about it. You ain't got to get at me. And I will also add, you can make a list. Producer Cat, what is our third and final observation?
This one you've already seen, but we both wanted to bring it up on the show because it was really cool.
Yeah.
This is from at Nadomik and Sue. Assuming I'm at the bottom of that pyramid because I can carry everyone else. Only reason I can think of.
He invited Nadomik and Sue onto the show to talk about this. We have yet to hear back a reply. Miss Sue would love to talk about your time at Nebraska. Would love to talk about Mark Ingram having your Heisman at his house. Okay, since we over here wanting to talk about the Heisman Trophy. Oh my God! But Miss Sue, it's a graphic. It's like you ever seen like a soccer lineup? Because that's what we were going for. It's just to build a pyramid, and defensive line is the bottom of that pyramid. It's the foundation. So you're right. Y'all carrying everybody. But it felt like you took qualms not with being on the team, but where you position on the team. And I don't know about you, dog, but you look kind of out of place at the top of that pyramid, though perhaps that's how you think about it. Maybe you believe you're the greatest Big 12 player of all time. I would love to ask you that question right here on the number one ranked show. But it's a graphic. That's all. Like, we was trying to give you your love and your props. Because as I said, if we really having conversations about the best players in college football annually, that's your Heisman. That's your Heisman. Just like Joe Burrow got Chase Young's Heisman. Okay? And I can keep going. I won't, but I can keep going. I do appreciate you, acknowledging that we did put you on the list and we put you on the team, because I genuinely believe that. And I genuinely believe you were this close to tearing apart the Texas team to play for a national championship, and then, got torn apart anyway. But you are that dude. You will always be that dude. And I'm not saying that I don't want no problems, but I don't want no problems. I don't want no problems. I didn't see what you do on the defensive line, dog. That's why I put you on the team, because I want you on my team. I don't want to be on the other team. I want you on my team. All right. That is going to do it for this episode of the number one ranked show. Please rate the podcast on Apple Podcasts. Follow the podcast on Apple Podcasts. Follow the podcast on Spotify, wherever it is you get your podcast. Follow the social accounts at number one show on the Twitters, at the number one show on the IG, at the number one show on, Facebook. My thanks to producer Kat, who puts all of this together and does a phenomenal job telling me what to do. Javion Duncan is responsible for making these epic graphics where y'all just want to shout at me about the things that I like. Chris Cheshire directs the show and is awesome at this job and working with me. I mean, give that man a raise is what I'm saying. And Kristen Scott executively produces the show. We will see y'all next week where, we're going to talk with Coastal Carolina coach Jamie Chadwell. See y'all next week. Deuces.